So I'm really excited because this is a really good way to zhuzh up a dessert or really kind of elevate just a touch. In baking, sugar can be categorized as a liquid because yes, it's in a solid state, but when it melts or it dissolves, it turns into a liquid. So oftentimes, even though it looks like a solid, it turns into a liquid once you heat it. Now, what am I going to do? I have some shelled pistachios here that I'm just going to give a real quick rough chop to. Not a lot. All I'm doing is making a dish just to add a little bit of an element. Always keep your thumb away and just do a really quick rough chop. It does not need to be fancy. You're not trying to like get super defined here. All we're doing is getting them into smaller pieces so that we can use them as a crunch element on a dessert. So like if you have a cake or you're having a dinner party or you're creating a dish where you want to have a nice crunch next to something creamy, say like a lemon curd, a crunchy candied pistachio would go great with that because you've got the smoothness of the curd, but then you've got a bit of a crunch from the caramelized sugar and the pistachio. We could toast these first. Anytime you toast a nut, you bring out the flavors of the nuts even more. But for this recipe, we're going to keep it super basic and super simple. If you were to toast this, you would put it just in a dry skillet on the stove on heat and just bring out the aromatics from that nut. But what we're going to do instead is I'm going to take these rough chopped nuts and set them aside. And as you can see, I just put a very thin coat of sugar in the bottom of a skillet. And I have a heat-proof spatula right here. Do not try to caramelize anything with a spatula that is not heat-proof. You will literally melt the spatula because this sugar is going to get really hot. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to bring this over to the stove on low heat and I'm not going to touch it. And I'm going to start to see that sugar melt, okay? We're creating what's called a caramel. Caramel, however you want to say it. And then I'm going to very slowly try to dissolve that sugar completely, and then I'm going to put the nuts into it, give it a quick stir, and let it completely harden on either a silpat or a piece of parchment on a baking sheet and let that cool completely. Be very careful anytime you're working with sugar. I do not recommend kids do this unless they are supervised very closely. I would not let my own kids do this because sugar can really burn you. So you want to be super careful with sugar, but it's definitely a fun way to try to elevate a dish. So I'm going to bring this over to the stove on medium-low heat, and then I'm going to slowly start to dissolve this sugar. Okay, so you can see I have my caramel here, smoking a touch. That's good. Color equals flavor. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put my pistachios right in, give it a quick stir. Look at that. That looks gorgeous. I love candying just about everything. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just put this on a piece of parchment. It's going to clump up. Now again, be super careful when you're doing this because this sugar is extremely hot. Okay, so I'm not going to touch this. Don't be tempted to taste the sugar, okay, because it will not feel good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to set this aside, let this completely cool, and then I'm going to crunch it up even more into small pieces. And that's it. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put this pan in hot water so that it can start to dissolve, and you're just not going to touch it until it kind of comes down a bit. All right?